James Dutro. Have you ever had a total failure that the client boss liked better than what they had originally asked for? That is a great question. I don't think so. That would be a really neat boss to work for, though, right? Like somebody who saw like that. That would be cool. It's a great question. Ian Crook says, do you collect your failures to potentially fix them later or act as a reminder of your growth? The latter. Act as a reminder of my growth. I hang the failures all over the place. I hang them from the ceiling. I've got a old dinosaur neck over there. In fact, it's my one is my having traveled around to hundreds of makerspaces around the United States and around the world. My biggest complaint about makerspaces is that they're too damn clean. Uh, I think that makerspaces walls should be packed salon style with all of the failures that are continuing to happen every day in that space. I think that's the kind of inspiration that every makerspace should engender. That's my personal opinion. If you have a makerspace, you don't want to do that, that's fine. But I do think it's really instructive to look at that stuff up on the walls. I mean, one of the first shops I ever worked in had a piece of plywood with a classic mark on it that spoke to someone who had not been using a fence, and the piece of wood flew back on them. And someone wrote on it, "Mr. Table Saw does not like it when you don't hold the wood firmly." That is an instruction. It is a great visual instruction as to the cost of failure in using the table saw. So I get a lot out of hanging my previous work and the iterations of a project up on a wall, and I save a lot of those. I mean, there's also there is something really beautiful about the object years later. You know, that thing you screwed up. I don't know if I have one nearby, but like that thing you screwed up, it's emotionally activating you today, but 5 years from now, you'll pick it up and you'll be like, yeah, I remember this. I remember this day. It's good to connect with that stuff, I think. So I do hold on to my failures when they're aesthetically interesting, and I do hang them up around me in order to be able to see them, because I definitely find that inspiring. The entire back wall of my shop is uncompleted projects. It's things I've half done or haven't even gotten started with, but I really do want to get to someday. And I have a whole nother storage of them up here in the loft. But those aren't failures per se. They're projects that haven't happened yet. But again, I gain a lot for myself out of having that stuff visually available to me. The cacophony of like seeing it all is inspiring. Can I take one more? Okay, we're going to take one more question. I think that is all the ones from the live stream. Alex G. Reed. You mentioned in the past an experience where you did not do a good job working on a film and led to the end of a friendship. Did that experience change your approach to methodology for collaborations? Yeah. Okay, so TLDR, I was 19 years old in New York, and I took on the task of art directing a friend of mine's film that she was producing. And there is a talk that I did at Maker Faire. I guess if we release this, we can put it in the comments of standalone video about this. And yeah, I screwed up so badly that a person who was one of my closest friends said to me that she was no longer my friend. And I have never, until that moment, I had never felt that low. And I called my dad and I was talking about it. I was like weeping about it. I just was really, really upset and sad. And I felt really shitty. And I felt like a terrible person. And my dad said, "You really screwed up. And you are not a terrible person. You are a person. And all you can do from this is resolve to not do it again. You can't fix what you've done. You can't undo what you've done." And you can apologize to the people you did it to. That's not going to help. I mean, you should. It's not going to change the situation. All you can do is resolve to try and not let that same thing happen again. And that was a lovely, graceful thing to say. Because, yeah, after I did that, I realized, oh, I have a hero complex. I want to solve all the problems and I don't like asking for help. Clearly, this problem occurred because I didn't know how to ask for help. And about 6 or 8 months later, a young filmmaker came to me who was much more higher placed in the film industry. And he was making a personal film in New York. And this film had a real budget. And he had an incredibly complex special effect he wanted to achieve of a bedroom being yanked out of a building in whole cloth, right? So like bricks and mortar and all of this stuff happening. And he asked me to bid on it. And I bid on it. But in the bid, I said, I can't tackle this job alone. It's going to require extra people. And thus the budget's going to be at least this. And I didn't get the job. And I'm so glad that I did not get that job. Like, that was exactly the right thing to do at that moment. Was this job is bigger than anything I've done before. If I am going to tackle it, I can't possibly do the same thing I did before. I must change my ways and know to ask for help. And I think at that early stage in my career of making stuff on jobs for other people, at that early stage, I didn't know how to say that without sounding, I think I probably sounded like a real neophyte. I probably sounded like what I was, a super green late teenager, which is fine. That's what I was. I avoided a lot more mistakes that way by being attentive to that part of my personality that doesn't like asking for help. Yeah, I don't like asking for help. It's a fascinating. One of the things I listen to a lot here in the shop is Bill Withers lately. I find Bill Withers' loving cynicism about the world to be exactly the balm I want right now. And that song, Call on Me, Brother, When You Need a Hand, there's a lyric in which he says, and I had never listened to it before this year. I'd never really taken in this lyric where he says, I can't help you with any problem that you won't let me see. Such a beautiful, beautiful thing for a friend to say. And it is important in both relationships and also professionally to communicate about these things that we don't know how to do. And that's hard. You know, my son was telling me about working in the restaurant industry. We were cooking together and I was cutting stuff up for my kid. And I was like, tell me if I'm doing this wrong. And he's like, yeah, no, you're doing fine. And I'm like, when you're in the restaurant, does chef show you exactly how he wants it done? And my son was like, no, they don't do that in a kitchen. They just tell you to figure it out. It's like, that is tough, man. But the only way you're going to learn is by screwing it up and then eventually getting it right. I really appreciate you all spending time with me in this space today, talking about failure and iteration and recovery and self-forgiveness. I think that's really what we're always talking about when we're talking about screwing up in any way. We're talking about forgiving ourselves. And what are we really forgiving ourselves for? We're not forgiving ourselves for like screwing up that thing. We're forgiving ourselves for being a human being, which is messy and confusing and opaque and ridiculous and humiliating and magical and loving and transformative and transcendent. And yeah, I'm very grateful. So thank you guys so much for joining me for this live stream. Again, if I didn't get to your question today, I'm going to answer some more of these over the next coming weeks because there's some really, really good questions here. Stay safe. I'm so excited. If you get to see your loved ones soon, I'm so excited for you. It is awesome. And I will see you guys at the next live stream. Thanks so much. Adam out.